Any questions?
I just did 2 buttons. I need to do the rest.
Okay.
I'm so bad at homework. Sorry. I need to catch up.
Okay.
But the buttons do work. I can show you.
Okay.
I didn't open too. I was like, I'm sorry for that.
Ashwin,
Okay.
save and cancel.
That's good.
I have to do the other ones.
Like the other controls?
Yeah.
Okay.
You gave 4 more things, right?
Yeah.
So my question was like, should I go on, should I create a table in HTML like we do that PD and all that? On what do?
Yeah, the assignment was to throw the information in a table, right?
Yeah. So I So
An HTML table. Yeah.
here, I should have to create it here. Where? I don't understand.
Okay, this is the layout page. Okay.
Yeah. Where to
You will have to create it in the page where you're showing those 2 buttons. So where did you write the code to show the 2 buttons?
Oh, okay. That's what I was confused. Okay, now I get it.
Were you able to do that, Aishwarya?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I uploaded it. Somehow it worked in GitHub. I was struggling with that.
Okay. Okay, you uploaded it. Okay. So in the ASP.NET MVC application, Manish, you can see my screen, correct?
I can see you. I can see you. Let me log back here again. And I think.
Yeah. Now you should be able to see my screen.
Yeah, I can see now.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Now in the ASP.NET web application,
Did you start from the scratch, Nashwant?
the scratch.
Like, how did you start? We don't know.
Start the application. This is the application. This is the ASP.NET MVC application. This is the same application that you have on your screen as well. You should see this sample MVC app.
Where did you get this one from?
Oh, these tables, don't worry about this. We will be covering that today. But right now,
This solution file, where did you get from?
this is a solution file that we created last week.
Oh, we did.
Did you have a sample ASP.NET MVC sample solution and project, right? That we created last week.
Oh, I don't have. Sorry.
Okay. Can you go to new and then project?
Okay, I did.
And here you will see, go to web, and then you will see ASP.NET Web Application, .NET Framework.
Did.
Select that, give the location as the location where you're storing all your sample files, or the GitHub location. Then give a name saying sample MVC app. Is the name of the.
sample MVC app. Okay, I did.
Okay, and then click OK. And
Saying
then
GitHub, you're saying something.
the location.
Yeah, location.
Did you map your location on your computer to the
No,
GitHub?
I didn't know. How to map?
That was I sent you a video and how to map your GitHub. Did you go into GitHub? Are you
No.
able to go?
I didn't go. But
Okay.
my wife went. I think it did take it, right?
Yeah. We'll have to cover that separately. So for now, you create this
Blank.
project in a location in your machine.
Okay, I did.
Where you're creating all the sample applications.
Okay, I think I created last time that project. I can see right now.
Okay, good. Yeah. So open that project, and then you will see. So
Yeah, I did.
you will see these folders. Don't worry about this sample MVC.dal, but you should see the solution file and one project file, and then you should see these folders like controllers and models and views, scripts, all these folders.
Right. I can see here. Anyway. Okay. So I have. Yes, I have controllers.
Okay, now run your application.
But I didn't put anything that did you put something else, or that's the base application?
Just run your application. Here, go to from IS Express, run your application.
I
So
did.
you can see here, click on that.
I did.
Okay, what are you seeing on the screen?
I am seeing it's running right now, and localhost 1039.
Oh, that we were saying.
It's loading still. Okay, ASP.NET page.
Yeah, so that's the, so what you're seeing on your screen is the contents that are there in, if you look at the views, there is under views, there is a folder called home. And
Okay.
under home, there is a folder, there's a file called index.cshtml.
Yes.
So that's the contents that you're seeing on the web page.
Okay.
Now, just to recap, the reason why the path of execution is that we define the path of execution saying what is the entry point in the, there's a file called routeconfig.cs in app_start.
Okay.
So here we specify the controller name and the action name. The action name is index. The controller name is home.
Okay.
And that's how it comes to this controller, home controller, and action. These are all action methods. The action method it comes to is index.
Okay.
And when you say return view, the corresponding view for every action method has a view corresponding to the action method. The action method is returning an action result. Then there is a view associated with that action method. And then that action method loads the index.cshtml, which is the CSHTML file that's under the home folder.
So basically, there are 3 pages on the home, right? And the views loads it.
Yeah, there's about contacts and index, but right now we are we are showing index.cshtml.
Correct.
Now, if you want to, and we covered this. So, for example, if I come here and say home / if I want to show the about, if I want to come to the above action method, so I do home / about.
Okay.
So what will happen in this case?
It will show the about page, right?
Yeah, it should show the about page. So the control will come here. So let's say I execute this page. So you can see that I put a debug point.
Okay.
and it's come to the about action method in the controller class. So this is the controller name, home. Controller is a keyword, so I mean not really a keyword, but this is a standard we follow, saying give the name of the controller followed by the controller word itself. That's the controller. So if you see in the browser, I said home, so it knows it's home controller / about. Then it goes and looks for the about action method, and then when I say return view, so action method is associated with the view. Now to know which view it is, if I right click on the action method and I say go to view, it will take me to the view. And that view is sitting in view / home, and it's about.cshtml.
Got it. Yeah.
So if I click, if I continue with the breakpoint, I just say continue. Then in my page, you can see that it's showing whatever is there in about.cshtml.
So we put the breakpoint during the execution, or
Ask your question again.
when did we put the breakpoint, during the execution, or anytime we can put?
Anytime you can put.
And we have to deploy again, right?
See the action method, the breakpoint you can put anywhere. You don't have to deploy again. See, I can take it. It's still running, so I can take it out, put it back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a breakpoint in contact, and I'm going to come here in the browser and say home / contact. So you see, the execution came to the contact method. We are halting the execution here by putting a breakpoint.
Got it. Got it.
So I can just say continue and it will proceed, and then it will go and hit the contact CSHTML page. What is the corresponding view for the contact action method? That you can right click and say go to view, and then you can see here it's contacts.cshtml. Shalini, are you with us? Okay. Oh, last time you had to leave a little early.
Yeah.
Now in the CSHTML file, so this is the ASP.NET MVC, and the ASP.NET MVC has something called. So we know what is HTML files, right? Now they have something called CSHTML, which is C# HTML. Now whatever you write in the CSHTML, you can write HTML content, and you can write also some C# related code. So whatever C# related code is, it's preceded with the @ symbol. Whatever you see, this hello, and followed by whatever code is there, that's actually C# code.
It starts with that.
Yeah, it starts with that symbol. So your question can be like, where is this view bag? What is this view bag? So if you see, I'm assigning the view bag here. View bag.message equal to your contact page, I'm saying, and that's what I'm accessing here. And then whatever I give here, I will be able to see here.
It's like Angular, right? Angular is double curly bracket we use. Same thing, right?
Yeah, yes, right. It's something like Angular. Yeah, but this is like on the server side. We are these variables are defined on the server side, and HTML is always on the client side. So the CSHTML, what happens is that when ASP.NET MVC will process this page, it will replace all the C# code with the values and send it to the browser, because the browser does not understand CSHTML. It understands only HTML and JavaScript. So it will replace this content, like title and message, with the actual values and send it back to the browser. You can see that actually here. So if I do a F12, the F12 is where you can see everything that's going under, what's happening underneath the browser. So if I come to network, and if I do a refresh of this page again, you can see what all happened when I did refresh. Now this contact is what came back to us. Now if you see, in the actual code, we had the actual code. We had at viewback.title, but when when ASP.NET processed it and sent it back, there is no at .title. It just replaced it with contact. So where did it just get? And it replaced title with it replaced title with contact and replaced message with viewback.message with your contact page. So where did it get that information? We are populating that on the server side. So you can see here, viewback.message equal to your contact page. We are actually populating it here. That's how, when the ASP.NET engine sent it to the browser, it sent it like this. So you can see this is a response. I'm seeing the response here. Yeah, those are in our view. Okay. They're in our view, but it's replaced now. Right. Now you can see these things are not replaced. They are coming as is. You can see here when I look at the contents here, they're as is, right? Because this is not C# code. Now, one other thing to keep in mind is that the structure of the, so ASP.NET is, this is what happens if you miss the class.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll catch up.
So ASP.NET MVC.
No, that's okay. You don't have. I'll catch up.
Yeah, so I'll give you a 2-minute overview so that help you to catch up. So here we are. So this is a web application that we have created, ASP.NET MVC web application, and the how to know what is the entry point for the application, that we define in the route config.cs file. So here is where we tell what is the controller that. So it expects the URL to be in this format, whatever URL that we give in the browser. See here, it is, of course, there will be, this is the server name and the port. This is by default, right? Now what comes after that, it expects it to be in the controller/action/ID format. If it doesn't find this format, then it will by default take, for controller, it will take home. For action, it will take index. And this is an optional parameter, so just ignore it. We're saying it's optional. So this is used to show information on the browser. You can do some processing and show information on the browser. Now what we'll do is, in the home controller action method, let's say that, so we have index and we're saying return view, right? Let's say, and this return view will show the index.cs HTML file, because this is the corresponding view for this action method. So the way it is structured is there are controllers. Within controllers, there are action methods, and action method shows view. And view is what is your HTML that you see on the browser. Now, if you want to do some more things here, let's say that I'm going to break out of here and write some code here. So let's say we define a class. Let's say we define a class. Now there is a folder called models. In models, I'm going to say add new item. The new item is I want to define a class. Let's say the class is product. So every class it gets a .cs extension, which means a C# class. So now it created a file called product.cs under models. I created it under models. Now this, for this product, I'm going to give it some fields. I'm going to say string product ID get set. Then I'll say string product name get set.
What is get and set?
Get and set are getter and setter methods. So previously with what this is means that getter setter methods are to get a value and to set a value. If I just say get, right? Let me. If I just say get, then I cannot set a value for this property or attribute of this class.
Okay.
I have to set a value for the property of the class. I have to do a set.
Okay. So I'm trying to add a product.cs under model, right click model, add, right? In the add, you add a REST API client.
Now I add a class, a simple .cs file, a class.
For me, it's grayed out. I don't know why.
So you need, did you stop the execution of the code?
Oh, okay, okay, I got it. I think it was running. So new item, right? Add a new item, correct?
Add new item, yes.
And in the new item, the Visual C#, and in the C#, you add a class, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Correct. Yeah.
Product.cs. Okay.
Yeah. It has an ID. It has a name. Then the product has what is the price? Unit price of product. Price is let's give it a double. Okay. Okay. Now what I'll do is in this controller, I'm going to create an instance of the class. This class is in sample MVC app.models namespace. If I have to access it in this controller, what do you think I should do? The product class is in SAP MVC app.models namespace.
So sample MVC dot product dot products.
You will say return view.
I have a return view, but my question right now is I want to access this class. I want to create an instance of this class here.
Yeah.
So how do I do that?
New.
Just new?
No.
Name of the class equals new, whatever. I don't know.
Okay, name of the class. So product, but I'm not seeing anything product. So I need to include that namespace. Let's say using.
Okay. Using.
Dot models.
Okay.
Now if I come here and I try to access the class, I will see that class.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So I'll say my product equal to new product. Okay. Now I'll say my product dot now. Okay, now a question. I said my product dot, and I'm not able to. I want to set the values of the properties, but I'm not seeing any of the properties. Any guesses why? Because by default the access specifier is private. Now, if I have to access it, I have to say public.
Public.
So I did public. Now, if I come here and I say dot, I can see product ID, product name, but not unit price because I haven't still made it public. I make it public. Okay.
Where did that private string product name go? Which you said, where did you set that?
Private string product name. Okay. Oh, it was just string. I added public to it.
Public. Product name, unit price.
Now I'll say product ID equal to, I gave it as a string. So I'll say, I'll say the headlight 1, 2, 3. In my product dot product name equal to headlight. Say my product dot unit price equal to, I'll say $20. Now, I want to show these values on the browser. Whatever code we write in the controller,
it will show up there, right?
If we want it to show, question is how do we do that?
I think it should show, no? Return view.
But how does it know that? I mean, the my product, we need to pass it
We have
through
to
the
create
view.
views.
We already have a view for index.
Okay.
The action method index. There's already a view called index.cshtml. This is our view for that. Yeah. Oh, this is for the product. Yeah, this is our view for the home for the index method in the home controller. What do we do? What we do here is we have an option to pass my product.
This is my products.
My product. Now, my product is a model. Now, if you remember our definition of MVC, data, right? Model is the data. Controller is the something that takes the data and gives it to the view, decides which view to show. View is something that shows the output, right? So if you see, model is our data that holds the data. We are passing the data like this, say return view. So if you do return and view, and if I do this, there are 8 methods that has the same method name view, but they have some they pass one parameter, some pass a different parameter, some pass couple of parameters. What is this concept called? One method name, same method name, but
Overload, method overload.
Method overloading, correct. So you can see how many methods they have overloaded here. 8 times they have overloaded.
How she knows?
Oh, I'm smart.
Okay.
We covered this earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, so method overload is a concept where one method can have 10 different implementations. When I say 10 or infinite number of implementations, what I mean by that is, let's say that you have a class called shape, and then there is a derived class for shape called circle, and there is a derived class, another derived class for shape called square. Both shape, both circle and square can have, they both have area, right? So both will have the same name of the method saying area, but their calculation of area is different, right?
Yeah.
So square will take only one input parameter, which is the length or side. And then you do side into S square is what will give you the area. But or let's say for rectangle, it needs length and breadth as two input parameters. So same method name, but different implementations. All right. So I did my product here. Okay. Now I go back to my view. This is my view. I have all this code. This is all static code. I'm going to get rid of it. This is all straight. This is all HTML code. I don't need it. Now I need to be able to tell my CSHTML that there is a model that I want to use in the CSHTML. And the data for that model is going to come from the controller. So I'm going to tell what is the model here. I'll say sample MVC apps dot model dot product.
My product, right?
Are you in which? Are you which?
I'm in the CSHTML5.
Index.cs.
Index.cs. Okay, just to refresh, right? I mean, this can be a little confusing, but I think we need to get these concepts, be clear in the concept. So this whole ASP.NET MVC revolves around controllers, views, and then models. Whatever you define under the controllers folder are your controllers. Now, each controller can have action methods within the controller. There can be multiple controllers depending on the functionality that you have. Let's say your application is dealing with product orders, right? So there can be one controller for products, one controller for order, depending on the amount of features that you have. So it's really up to you how many controllers you want to define. So whatever controllers you define it under the controllers folder.
And you said which has a lot of methods. Controllers can have a lot of methods.
Controllers have methods,
Yeah.
and each of those methods are called action methods because they do some action. So for example, here, index is an action method. I can define another method here. I'll just say public action result. I'll say get products. What is this? Get. Yeah, I'll just say get products. Okay. Open close parenthesis, and I'll say return view. Now, if I do this, I can do this, but I need to define a view for this action. So how do I define a view? I right click in the method and I say add view. When I say add view, by default it gives me a view name. It suggests a view name, get products. I may want to keep that. I may not want to keep that. I can change it. I say my view is, let's say, product or show product. Okay. And if I click add, then what it does is it creates a view for this action method. So it created a view called show product.cshtml. Now, where did it do that? It did that under the views folder. In the home folder, there is a file called show product.cshtml. Now, why did it create under home? Because so if you have multiple controllers, right, it needs some kind of folders, it's some kind of arranging of the files, some standard way of arranging the files. So product controller has a folder called product. If I add another controller here, there will be another folder that will get created. And all the views for home controller will be under the home folder.
Okay.
All the views for the product controller will be under the product folder under views. See, there is some structure to the way it gets created. Now, since I created this get products, if I run this application and I want to be able to see this show product view. So by default, it runs and it has a default path, but I want to now see my I want to see my show product view. So I come here. By default, what does it do? When I just do my URL, what does it load?
Index.
Index.
Home.
Good.
Home.
So in home, correct. Why? Because in the route config, I said there's no controller action, then take home and index. That's why I did that. But now I want to go and browse my home. The action method we defined was get products. Okay, so it's saying the view get products or its master was not found, or view engine supports the searched locations. Okay. So one thing that this one has a restriction is, or it has a constraint, is that whatever action method you define here, you need to define the same kind of, with the same name you need to define the view. So our view name is
Products.
products or show product.
So, okay.
So we'll just say show product. So to make a change, I have to break out. I'll say show product. So I just rebuild, rerun. Okay, so I'll come here, say home, show product. Right. So now it went and hit the, first it hit the controller, and then the statement that we have is return view. So what is the view? Show product. What do we have here? We just have this word, show product. H2 is a header 2 tag. It's a HTML tag, so that's why it's showing. If I make this H1, it'll show even bigger.
That's what I don't like. From H1 to H6, it goes lower and lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
So you have to keep on doing one H1 or all of them H1 or your H in font of the headings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was making my resume in HTML one time and I said, why this is going slow?
Yeah. Making our resume in HTML?
I practiced one time.
Oh, you practiced.
Just to learn HTML, you know.
Okay, cool.
Like
All right.
paragraph and all these
Got it.
things, you know, tags different.
Got it. Okay, so that's the concept of MVC. So remember, controllers, views, models, and route. Once you know these things, then you know a lot about ASP.NET MVC. Now, the other concept to remember is when we run this, where are these things coming from?
They're the default SHTML.
The layout SHTML.
Layout CSHTML.
And you have to
Now,
go and change those.
sure.
Under the less unordered list, I think. UL?
Sure. So under shared in views, there is a file called underscore layout.cshtml. So this is like a master page. And when I say master page, what it means is that I want whatever is defined in layout.cshtml to show in all pages. So no matter which page I load, if I go to home, I still see this menu. If I go to about, what you can see, the content of the body is changing, but my menu is staying the same. So if you come to underscore layout.cshtml, let's see what's in this file. You can see that we have, it is again a CSHTML file. So it will have HTML tags. And then basically it has a header tag and a body tag. Now within the body tag, let's start with the body first. There are again two tags here, two div tags. One is the one that says navbar inverts, and so on. And then there's another div tag that says container, and which is like the body content. Whatever is defined in the first div tag is what is your menu item. Now, what about my body? My body keeps changing based on which page I load, right? So that's why we say at render body. So this statement kind of tells the master page that information that instead of when I say at render body, take the information that is there in the CSHTML of those specific views and put it here. So that's why when I change when I click a different menu item, the at render body is changing. The rest all is staying the same. So this at render body is nothing but is getting replaced with. That's a C# syntax. So the at render body is telling that whatever is there in the view, like maybe it is index.cshtml or about or contact.cshtml, replace at render body whatever is there here with the content that's there in the view that you're loading.
Can you repeat that? So whatever is in view, replace that and reload it.
Whatever is there in whatever is so in place of at render body, take the content that's there in the view and instead of so the at render body will take the content that's there in the view and put it in this same location at line number 31. So if you see here, right, again, I mean the good check for you will be if you go to F12, which is your browser tools, and you see the response. So I'm going to load this page again. So these are all the these are all the actions that happened when we loaded the page. So the first one is a request that went to the server from the browser. So this is the request, blah 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 blah, all these parameters. And what is the response that came back? This is the response that came back. So you can see that the div tag that we have in the master page, that came as is. This was some C# code that got replaced. Now, in the container, in the body content, so we said at render body, right? That got replaced with whatever was there in the view. What's there in the view? Sample MVC app.models.product, whatever. Some garbage is there because this garbage is there because we are in the middle of changes. Let me show you that. See, we were still building this. We didn't build this, the whole thing. So the CSHTML for this is index.cshtml. We were still building this garbage. We are still building the functionality. So if I get rid of this, right, go properly. Load this page again. So there's nothing now. It's gone. Let's see the response back. There's nothing here. Let me load another page. Let me do the about page. Go here. See the response. So what got inserted? This one. At render body, this information got inserted. Where did this information come from? Let's check the index.cshtml for that, for about. Viewback.title is about. So this is about, right? Message, is there some message? And then there was a paragraph, use this area to provide additional information, that got here. So that's how you are seeing the content.
So if you put add render body, whatever information you want, that will come and show here.
Yeah. So at render body, what it does is like whatever. So when we run a method, right? When we do a controller name / action method, we are seeing the output of a CSHTML on the page, right? Now the CSHTML itself, it doesn't have when you define a CSHTML. So for example, if you go to about, I'm not saying anything to show the top menu items, or I'm not showing anything here. I'm not saying anything here to show the this one here, the footer, the header and footer. I don't have any code here. I just have the code, have some code here. Now what the way ASP.NET MVC works is that it takes the layout CSHTML, everything in the layout.cshtml it will show, and when it sees this at render body, it will replace the at render body with the content of your view that you're loading.
How does that happen?
So that's the functionality. So when you define when you are
like the basic page, we have to change. Yes, like header and footer, we can change, right?
you can change.
Yeah.
So that header and footer will stay.
Whatever we coded there, it will display.
Whatever you coded in CSHTML will display in at render body. So here, if I change this guy, right? Let's say my ASP.NET application, my sample ASP.NET. Now I'm changing in the master page, master layout page. If I come and refresh here, got changed. I go to any page, it will contain that. So the header and the footer is coming from the master page, like a template. And the content that we want to show in the body is happening because we defined this at render body. So let's say I comment this out and I load the page. Has not been called, it's saying. So I have to call it. Just so I do a null and refresh the page. I can do a null. There's a portion of the content that is not within a named section. Yeah, so I can't comment it out. Basically, just having the header and footer without any body, it's like no use, right? So the idea is this body, at render body, is your content that's defined in your individual CSHTML files. Oh, you're not getting it?
So like when we start.
So
like
what is the, yeah, go ahead.
When we start like a web page design, so first we have to do here like layout.
You need a layout if you have to. So let's say I don't have a layout page. Okay, that's a good point. So let's say I comment out the layout page. Let's do that.
So we are doing MVC course here, right? Which MVC is that? 4, 5, 6?
This is ASP.NET MVC 5.
MVC 5, okay. Is it same thing like 4, 5, 6, or there's some changes?
It's the same.
Yeah.
So actually, it is. Yeah. So C#, there are the new versions have come, but Just like very few, like I think C#7 is going on right now.
Okay.
But ASP.NET MVC is, there was 4.5, and now there's, I think 4.5 is, they didn't do anything after 4.5. I think it's 4.5.
Okay. Basically, this is ASP.NET MVC5. I was looking into the plural site so that I learned something.
Yeah.
We are doing ASP.NET MVC5, right?
ASP.NET MVC5, yes. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's hardly any difference between 4.5 and 5.
Okay.
Okay. So this page loaded. Let's say home, show, I think there's a show products. Show product. Show product. Loaded. Page loaded. Whatever content I defined in CS/HTML, show product, H1, loaded. I can see it. I don't have any header and footer though. And to be able to, so every page will normally have all the menus, right? Any page you go to, I go to, let's say, Amazon.com. See these guys here? These are all menus. I go anywhere, right? Let's say I change my page or even, okay, this is like,
This MVC, this Amazon.com.
I think this is Angular.
Okay.
So let's say I go to Deeds. That is changed, right? Whatever this header, do you see it has changed? Similarly, I have a footer, this and this.
So
It's
it
constant.
was under layout.
It is under layout. So I want to change what's in between.
Okay.
So I'm defining a template, my header, footer, this is what it will be for my website. And I want to keep changing the content inside that. So basically that master page is, if I go to the master page again, there are 3 sections to it if you want to think that way. So there is a, we have defined a header, then there's a footer, and then there's a body. Don't think about this body. So this is HTML body, but within the HTML body itself, so whatever is within the body is whatever will show on the page. Within that, we have defined the menu. Now inside, I want to say that then I have defined a footer here. And then I'm saying that wherever you see at render body, whenever it sees at render body, it will replace the actual CS/HTML that we are loading. It will come and put that information here.
That can keep on changing.
That will keep changing.
Yeah.
For every page, it will change. So
Yeah.
if you see here, right?
If you click on one product, it will take us to the other product.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to always see my header and my footer.
Okay.
So that's why we define master pages. So this layout.
So in render body, we put something which can be we are replacing or which something which is changing.
Correct. So no, at render body is a syntax.
Okay.
So to say that, hey, change. So when we are executing the controller and the action methods, what is getting loaded? Here, right? When we are executing, what are we loading finally? So in my action method, what am I calling here finally? My view. What is my view? Yes, HTML page. But that's not my master page, right? This CSHTML is what will go in that at render body. When it sees at render body, it will go and search for, hey, what is the CSS/HTML page this guy tried to load, and it will replace that at render body with that CSS/HTML file. That's what it means. Manish?
Yes, sir. So I'm getting it, like whatever is there in the view, it will replace it, right?
Correct, yeah.
And if we want to have a some shared control on the page, like the common footer, we put on the layouts, right?
Correct, exactly.
Layout.
Exactly. So now your question may be that how does ASP.NET know, what if I change this file name, will it work?
It won't. Because it looking at layouts in the server location.
Looking at the layout keyword?
Yeah, layouts keyword on the server itself. If you put 1, 2, 3, it's not there.
Yeah, that's configurable though. So here there is a file called viewstart underscore viewstart.cshtml. What does this file do? This file gives you the flexibility to define what's your layout.
Right.
So I can say underscore layout 123.cshtml. Or I can define it as XYZ, well, any name I give here, but I have to tell ASP.NET MVC what is my layout file. And how do I tell it what's my layout file? There's a file called underscore viewstart.cshtml. In that, this code has to be there. You see, we are telling it what is the layout file. Make sense? So so these are the important files to keep in mind. There is a underscore viewstart.cshtml, which points to what is the layout page.
Underscore view start.
.cshtml. It's under views folder.
And which other?
And then there is a that points to what is my layout page. My layout page is under views, shared, and then I have the layout page.
Oh, views. Yeah.
So, and then we have the views folder, we have the controllers folder, and then we have the models folder. And then we have the route config.cs. These are the concepts that are involved in loading an ASP.NET MVC page.
Also have to make a lot of changes in route.config, right?
Well, that is to tell if I don't give a controller name and an action name, what should I load? That is the only change you have to make.
So when we form the
That's the
controllers, we always give them a name, right?
For the
Always-
controllers, you give the name.
Yeah.
So the controller has a name. So let's say I create a new controller here. So right click, add controller, empty controller, click add, prompts name, I say order controller. Add. Now it will create a controller called order controller. If I open it, there is a class called order controller which derives from controller class, and by default it gives one method for you. Want to keep it, delete it, it's up to you. You want to change the name, it's up to you. It's just for convenience, it's created one for you.
I had a question. I was practicing MVC. So there are two options. One is like empty MVC template, and there is that preloaded
Methods.
methods. So when you want to make a calendar or something, right? I saw on YouTube the guy was using empty, and he was writing the code whatever he needs. But if you use the preloaded one, don't you think it's a big mishmash and it confuses? Because it already has a by default a home controller. So if I want to make another home controller, I have to say home one or rename it and all. So what do you suggest? Should we always start with the empty template when we want to make
Yeah, empty template is good. You can start with an empty template.
But then we should know the code also.
Yeah.
When you are learning, I think empty is better.
Yeah, when you're learning, empty is better. Yeah, code is there in a lot of places. So you look at the internet, you'll get the code. Or initially, if you're comfortable to have the code, then generate with the code, remove what you don't want.
So I can remove the default home controller and then what I made a home controller that should work, right?
Oh, yeah. So the default, you can create a folder that's totally, so I can create a sample MVC app with none of these in here. And then I can go and add myself.
Yeah,
Just that I have to remember.
I created like that. I selected empty.
Okay.
Because I was learning, right? So
Okay.
I can select.
Yeah, for learning it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of you'll understand why I have each of these,
Yeah.
what's the purpose of each of these.
That's okay. So my husband says, understand the concept. The syntax you will learn when you start working. It will come with practice.
Yeah.
But you need to understand what is happening and how it is happening and how you access the API and what you do and how it works. He keeps asking me, so what it does, and I'm like, he said, you are focused on syntax. I don't know this. I don't know the syntax.
Yeah.
He said, don't do that. Understand what the concept is.
He's right. It's difficult to remember the syntax.
Yeah, nobody can remember. Even we go and sometimes copy paste because we have been in this field for so many years.
Yeah.
You still Google sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I said, do you do it all the time? He said, no.
Yeah.
Like once you work on a project, then you know what you are doing. If you don't work, doesn't matter whatever you do. Stuff, right?
Yeah.
Stuff.
No need to remember the syntax. Just remember the concepts. Then you can do it. Okay. Now, we also are. So we were at a point where I'll go back to the home. We created an auto controller. Well, the home controller, we created my product and we were passing it in the view. Now I want to be able to show these values. See, if I can't pass a model and show it in the HTML, then what good is it? If I can't pass some values and show, like unless I'm able to pass some values to the view, all the data that I see on my HTML will be static data. I have to make that data dynamic. I should be able to fetch the values from somewhere, maybe a database, and then pass it to the view and show it on the UI. I should be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So let's try to do that. So here, what I'll go do, the view for this guy is index.html here, right here. What I'll do here, I'll define at model and then say sample this guy. Dot, what is the class name? Product, right? Now, I will say my HTML, I will define a table. Or let's say I define the T head, say T body, say TR, TD. I'll say model dot product ID.
We have to put at the rate, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, it won't return, right?
Yeah, it won't return. Model dot.
See, I'm getting something now.
Product name.
It's practice. I'm lazy. That's the thing.
Yeah. So now, I'm curious to know what's going to happen if I run this. So yeah. Mm. Okay. It's something. Let's define a header.
And what is another TH? Or
TR.
TR row.
Sorry. Product ID, prod name, unit price. Where's this guy? I defined a table, but so this HL 123 headlights and 20. I didn't say anywhere, right? This is like dynamic values. Right? I'm not hard coding it. I'm not saying HL 123 or headlights and 20. I'm not saying that. It's able to get the values and show it here. Yeah. Model.
So that is taking from controller.
Okay, good question. So let me comment out what's there in the controller. So let's say I don't pass the value. Cannot perform runtime binding on a null reference. So it doesn't know what's product ID because I'm not passing the model, giving me an exception. If I run it, if I ignore the exception, run it, then it doesn't know what this product ID is. So to be able to show some values of the model in the UI, I need to be able to do this. I need to pass the model, and then I need to only then I can pass the access the values of the model here. Now let's say we do one thing. I make this a list. A list is a collection. I say list, my product, new, list of product.
So basically, they are model and views. Whenever the views changes, the model changes, views changes, right?
Yeah, the content of the view will change
when the model changes. And what about the controller? Controller is like?
Controller is what is helping us pass the values of the model to the view.
Okay.
Because without the controllers, so the action methods are sitting within the controller. The action method is what is returning a view. And it is also giving us an option to return some values, pass some values from the controller to the view.
But most of the code we are doing on the model, right? And the views.
Most of the code will be on the server side, which is in the controller, on the controller side, in the methods of the controller.
In the methods of the controller, we are putting all the codes, right?
Yeah. So these are the methods, right? These are called action methods. And all these methods are within the controller.
Got it.
I created a list. Now I say product let's say new product equal to new product. And instead of,
we are creating a class called new product, right?
we are creating a
Class called new product, and we are specifying.
Yeah. And then we are adding, we are assigning values to the new prod class.
These are methods, right? ID, name, price.
Those are properties.
Properties, okay.
Properties of the class. So if you go to the product.cs class, product ID, product name, unit price are methods. Are properties. Methods, if you want, you can write down. So any class will have properties and methods. So right now we haven't defined any methods for this class.
These are properties, okay.
Properties
Product
are
is a class, right? Product is a class, and
Yeah.
rest is the method, right? Properties, sorry.
Properties, yeah. Properties or attributes, they're called.
Yeah.
Now, I create a new prod. Now, I want to do my prod dot add new prod. Can I do this? What
Why
am I
not?
doing here?
To the class my product, we are adding
function into a function.
Passing a function into a function. New prod is,
Oh no, that's not a function.
it's an object. What is my prod?
Oh,
It's a list.
the list.
What is a list? It's a collection. So I'm saying list, my product is a list of products. So if I want to define more than one product, I'll have and store them, I'll have to define a list. Then I can create 5 products and then store it in the list. How do I store it in the list? I do a dot add.
you're storing a new object into your list.
Yes,
By putting the add.
exactly. Now, I want to do this using a for loop. For int I equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. I'll move this code inside the for loop. Now, I don't want to have the same. Okay, what will happen if I do this? Any guesses?
It will run 5 times.
Okay.
5 times save
0 to 5.
Okay. So what will the list contain?
data.
The same data. How many items will the list contain?
5.
5.
0 to 4.
0 to 4. And it has the same data.
Same data.
I want to kind of vary the data a little. So I'll say plus I. Okay, plus plus. What's going to happen now?
It will print 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2.
Print. But I haven't given any print statement.
No, I'm going to say it will just it will add. Okay.
Yeah, it will. Product ID will become HL-123 0. So 0 will get appended to it.
Yeah.
The end. So I'm just trying to have different products in the list. So that's why I'm doing that. Now, I will do my product. I passed a list of products to the view. Now, in my CS HTML, I want to say for int I equal to 0, I less than
I have to put add sign everywhere.
we have to put the add sign because we have to distinguish the C# code from the HTML code.
Oh, okay.
So all this is C#. All this is HTML code. This is like general. This is like just writing a table with static values. But as soon as you put at, HTML doesn't understand the model.product ID. So if I just put model.product ID, okay. If I don't put at, be a question, right? And I run this.
So my wife is joining now.
Yes.
She was on the call with that university.
Okay. So what happened? Did the values get replaced?
Nope.
HTML thinks that this is just some text.
Yeah.
It thinks like, doesn't know it is C# variables.
Yeah.
To say it is C# variables and to be able to replace to be able to show the values that were passed from the controller, you need to put an at symbol. Because those values are being set on the C# side on the controller. In the controller. There is server side and there is client side, and so we need to distinguish that. So take a minute to understand that. So if you come here, let's open a client. Now client. Server. Runs in the web server. Web server is a physical computer.
It's the IIS basically, right? Where your web application runs, right?
Yeah. Sitting in a remote location. Web server has IIS. IIS stands for
Internet Information Services.
Internet Information Services. IIS. If I come to your home, or if somebody comes to your home, what do you do? If you're giving them tea and coffee, you are hosting them, right?
Yeah.
So IIS hosts web applications. Okay. So it's like a
web server.
It's a web server, like it is hosting. It is like taking care of the web applications. Okay. Now let's look at the client. Web browser is the client. Web browser only understands HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Web browser does not understand C#. IIS understands C#. When IIS is processing so this whole thing, right, that we have here, the whole solution is deployed on the server. When I say in IIS, so IIS is hosting this whole thing. Okay. When I say the whole thing, it is a set of assemblies or DLLs. When you build this, it gives an output of a set of DLLs. The whole thing is sitting in IIS. From a browser, you put a request, like I'm putting a request here from a browser. This is sitting on my machine. My server and my browser are right on the same machine. But typically, your browser, your server will be sitting somewhere else. Like Amazon.com Amazon server is sitting somewhere, some data center, maybe in Texas or Seattle somewhere. From my browser, I'm hitting the Amazon website. I'm the client. Amazon Web Service is the server. Amazon is hosting their website, a set of DLLs in IaaS that is sitting in their data center in Dallas. When I say data center, let's assume it's a physical box. They have a physical computer they're saying it is a server. It's a high-end machine, a lot of processing power, and it is having IaaS, and it is hosting the websites, the Amazon.com website. And I, as a client, from my web browser, when I type Amazon.com, it goes to that web server. And that web server, we are telling it, hey, you send me home/index page. Web server takes that request. Oh, he wants home/index. Goes, looks, what is home/index? If that has some C# code, process that C# code, replace that C# code with some values that the browser can understand. Because the browser cannot understand C# code. Why should it replace? So in this case, we said model.product_id. When I said model.product_id to like here in the code, the browser, when I send this to the Amazon web server, it looks at this file and sees, okay, this doesn't have an @ symbol, so I'm not going to do anything with this. This is probably just HTML. I don't have to replace this content. So it will just send it back to the browser. To the browser, it will send back this web page without replacing model.product_id or model.product_name with any values. Yeah, the browser can understand it because it is text. So that's why the browser is showing as is. Getting it? Yeah. So if I have to, okay, so for example here, the browser sees that this piece of code is enclosed in the using the @ symbol. So it will assign a value of homepage to title. Now, if I display title here, let's say h1 at view bag dot title. Refresh it. It replaced it with homepage, whatever is here. Now this viewpack.title, I can even do it on the controller side. That's also possible. So let's say that I don't do it here. I just comment this guy out. On my home controller, come here and I say the viewback.title equal to let's say good day.
If you don't do anything, it will fail.
What is the question?
If you don't do anything, if you don't specify title in the view bag, it's going to fail.
No, it's not going to fail. It's going to show blank. Let's do that too. I'm not giving anything to title. So let me run this guy. Nothing has come for viewback title. I'm going to give a value here. Run it.
All the methods are in controllers, basically, right?
Yes. Yes.
And views and model just returns it.
Good day. Views they show the output on the browser. So your views will have a HTML content, right? That the browser can understand. Now the view can have a C#. See, before CSHTML came, so if you see our views are all named as CSHTML.
Right.
Before CSHTML came, it was HTML. Microsoft introduced CSHTML. and they said that, okay, within HTML, you can also have C# code. Now, what happens is the browser doesn't understand C#. Now, before you can send the content of the view to the browser to show the information on the browser, somebody has to process that C# content. Who's processing it? ASP.NET MVC is processing it. So it's called the Razor engine. There's an engine called the Razor engine that processes that C# code and sends the output to the browser. So when the browser receives it, there are no traces of C# in it. It is either it has some value which was already processed by the Razor engine, or it has some text. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that was with Good Day. So let's go with my product we are passing now. My product is a list. So, now I'm going to say for int I equal to. Hey Vinita, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a difficult time if you join in between.
Yeah.
But she has
I was talking to the school, so like I have so many things in my plate right now.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she can pick up from the video, right?
Yeah, she can pick up from the video, and plus you're at home, or you can also.
I can pick up. The thing is that I have to sit and study. That's it. Nothing else. Which I really hate right now.
Oh, okay. All done.
So others are spending every day on the labs here?
Well, ask them. They're right here.
Oh, they all are here. Hi.
Oh yeah, they're here. They're right here. They're sitting here with me in the class.
Oh yeah, that's the best thing. If somebody is you are in class, then it's so easy to grasp.
Still, it's the same thing, right? You don't have table.
But the thing is that you have to study. That's the thing. Sit and study. Practice.
So yeah, study is the key factor. You have to spend time at home.
Oh my God, I already studied 2.5 years for this degree. So my brain is like, totally fried right now.
Okay. Yeah. You
And
should
last 3 hours.
should take a vacation first then.
I took a vacation, but I just started today something else, another adventure. Last 3 hours I was talking to doing MBA, and I just talking to the counselor and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you should go to Bahamas and then.
We are not so rich, right?
Okay.
No, I will prefer go to India and just relax over there. I will not prefer go to Bahamas.
So you think of that.
India is the best place, like you are not worried about your kid.
One small baby. Forget about
No, I don't have a small one, but still,
But Bahamas, you don't come back. That's another chances, right?
Yeah, Manish, you should go together. You should go with Vinita. Make sure she comes back.
No one comes back, right? That's the thing. If you watch some movies, right?
Model. I should say.
My product, right?
I'll explain this. It's difficult to remember syntax.
Yeah.
There's so many languages.
It's very hard to remember anything, man.
I think we have to make a
As long
notebook.
as you know
something
the
like that.
concepts, you should be okay. So it is complaining product.
Google is there, right? So everything should be there in the Google.
Yeah, let's check Google.
If we know how to copy and paste and debug. Teach us how to use Google, man.
Model.
I mean to say the code part.
But you need to know the concepts.
He knows a little bit. That's why he's saying, you know, for me, I have to like need to know the concept.
MVC, I don't know, man. I know something else, different framework, but not MVC.
At model. Should be used. Prefer model and CSHTML. Calling classes in model folder. Set model keyword and razor. Okay. At merits page. Okay. So this guy is given some information that here, say at model, say, okay, now it's come. Good. So it's a list of for each sample C dot models dot product, my model in model.
So we are writing each loop, right? For loop.
Yeah.
And we are iterating over the product object.
Yeah. This should work.
So red means there's some error.
Okay, so something happened. Yeah, we got it. So yeah, sometimes it gives a squiggly, but you can ignore it. So what happened is that since we were passing a list, so we're telling the CSHTML that my model is a list of products, right? Then we are saying for each. Did we go through the for each syntax? No. Okay. So what's a for each syntax, right? The for each syntax is, you know, the for loop, right? We use the for each generally for lists. What happens is that syntax is for each. Let's say my object is my list is a my list is a collection of products, right? So product, right, which is what my list contains. It contains the a list of products, each of type product, right? So what I mean here is that, so let's do it here, it'll be more convenient. So the for each symbol is for each product, my product, product, prod, in my product. I'll say prod dot product ID is equal to 20. Just as an example, product ID is a string, so I'll say headlights 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is the syntax of the for each loop. Now let's understand what this is. I'm saying for each product, prod is any variable. You can call it prod or prod1 or prod2, doesn't matter. Now, if you're calling it prod12, then you change this to prod12. In what's my prod? It's a list.
My list.
It's a list of that contains objects of type product. So what is the type that it contains? It contains product. Give it a name, the variable that you want to refer within the code, within the for each loop, in the list. What is the type it contains? What is the variable name you want to use as a reference in the for each loop in the list? And then you say prod12 dot product ID equal to h2123. What does this do?
It's going to show 1, 2, 3. What are your products are?
Going to show. So let's say my prod has 10 items. What does this do?
It will go through each one, right? And it
will go through each one and
each one, yeah. And shows the product name. What are the products are?
Well, it will actually assign. It will for product ID.
Yeah.
To a value of HT123 for all the 10 items. That's what it does. This is when you're dealing with lists and objects and a set of, if you're having a list of objects, then this is how you manipulate the values, the properties of each of those objects within the list. We use the for each loop. So coming back here, what did I do? Which is the same for each loop within the CS_HTML file. The type, my list is a list of products. I'm referring it to. So in CS_HTML, when you, whatever is the model that you specify here, you give a capital M, capital model. This is a keyword. You use this model. So whatever you're passing here, right? So this is the syntax to refer to a model, a C# model in CS_HTML. Now, if I say, I can say this too. So let's say I say this. Now, will this work? As soon as I say for each, it will assume that model is a list, but it's not a list. So if I don't have a for each loop, if I comment out this, right? I just comment out the for each loop. And then I will just say model. What will this do? This will assume that my view is not getting a list. It is just getting one object, product. Here in the view, I am passing a list of products. Like my product is a list. If I do this, and if I do this on the CS_HTML, there is a conflict. Because my model is not just one product. Model is a list of products. So you have to keep that in sync. If I just want to, if I have to make this work, I'll just say new prod. So prod is, since it's within the loop, I'll just take it outside. If I do this, then it'll work. What am I passing from here? Am I passing a list or I'm passing one object? One object, right? And in my CS_HTML, I'm also referring to one object. I'm not referring to a class, a list. objects. Similarly, if I can't apply a for each loop on one object, I need a collection, I need a list of objects. So you need to keep that in sync. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to make this my product, which is a list. Here I'm going to say list. Now my model is a list. If I run it like this, it will complain. Why? Now my model is a list.
Yeah, you have to uncomment that.
Sure, but why? If I comment out the for loop, is there a problem? And if there is a problem, what is the problem? My model is a list, right?
Right.
When you're referring your model in the code, see the syntax to refer to the model is at model with a small m. But when you're referring it in the code, in the rest of the HTML, you refer it with capital M. When I say model, it's actually referring to this. So I'm saying model.product ID. Now I'm saying model.product ID, but there are 5 products in this list. Which one you want me to refer? First one, third one, fifth one? So it gets confused.
So we use for loop.
So then we use the for loop to tell it that for each. Then I have to now say my model. Why? Because my model. So what is model now? What is this model?
My model.
No, just model. What is model? It's a little confusing, but
Over there, I think the model is list.
List
of product.
Yes, correct. What is my model?
That's the name. Anything.
Anything, but anything of?
Anything of the model one, like list.
The product.
Anything of the product.
Yeah.
So the model is a list of products. My model is a product.
Product, yeah.
So then I can say my model.product ID because I'm doing a for each and I'm going through each items in the list. Make sense? So if I run this, I got that. How did I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items? Why I got 5 items?
0 to 4, right?
0 to 4. Why 0 to 4?
Because you put a for loop.
I put a for loop, but I mean the for loop can be 0 to 100, right? Why just 0 to 4?
In controller.js, right? So in controller.cs, you specified there, right?
Good, correct. You're now making the connection. Yeah. So I said 0 to 4, right? I'm passing only 5 items here. So that's why I'm seeing 5 items there. So if I pass 100 items here,
it will show 100 items, right?
show 100 items. Good.
Basically, these are functions, right?
Which one?
In the controller we write.
Yeah, these are functions or methods. They are the same. Methods and functions are interchangeably used. Generally, we say they are action methods. So a controller has a set of action methods, and all these are action methods.
Basically, we are passing a parameter on the other page by using the using statement, right?
Passing the parameter.
Remember, we used the using statement on the top.
Yeah.
And so that it, like using sample MVC.
We use the using statement
because we want to pass the parameter from that page to this page, right? The object. Sample.
So we want to refer to the class.
Okay.
We want to create an instance of the class product in the controller class, because these two are different classes, different files. They are in different namespaces. If they are in the same namespace, then we don't have to say using that namespace. If they are in the same namespace, you can directly refer to it.
Okay.
Should I go slow?
Just hungry.
Oh, you're hungry.
I just left my house at 9:30.
Oh my
I
God.
didn't even eat breakfast.
Oh, Manish, what is happening? What was there for lunch? Shalini is feeling hungry.
Oh, here we don't have anything.
And you always say we don't have anything. Man.
In Novi, there is a very good food. We were there before, right? 3 years back. So I know. It's a very good food there in Detroit. I know.
Oh, New Jersey is better.
Yeah.
No.
Detroit, Michigan is the worst state in the US.
No, it's very expensive, man. Detroit is
New
almost.
Jersey is full of life. Look at the Edison area, all the chart and everything behind.
But we miss crime here, right? Shootouts are not there.
I love it.
Yeah. Yep. So do you want good? All right. So this is what we saw, how to show the values on the UI using ASP.NET MVC. Any questions so far? Now, there is if no questions, then I want to also talk about one other thing in ASP.NET MVC. So here in ASP.NET MVC, we saw that there is something called the master page, right, or the layout page. If you see in the layout page, you will see some styles.render and scripts.render. What does this really mean? Now, this means that the styles.render and scripts.render, they're defined in bundleconfig.cs. So in app_start, we saw routeconfig.cs. There's another file called bundleconfig.cs. Bundleconfig.cs helps us bundle a group of files together. So you can see here that in the I just went to the bottom. There's bootstrap.css and site.css. They are bundled together and called content/.css. Now, what happens is that when your browser runs, and let's look at that with a live example on how it works. I'm going to run the application again. Under network, let me refresh this again. See, there are types called script. So bootstrap.js, jquery.js, and then another JS file. What is this? What is happening here? So you can see that these files are actually downloaded from the client to the server. Similarly, engines.json is another file that gets downloaded from the server to the client. Now, we know that we need CSS files for style, and JavaScript files, which are .js files. We need them for making the page more live. So here, jQuery, I briefly mentioned to you that jQuery is one level of abstraction over JavaScript. A group of people, they got together and they came up with jQuery so that writing JavaScript becomes easy. So it's a framework, you can say, jQuery, which we will not be going too much into detail. Our focus is Angular, but I want you to be aware of jQuery as well. So here, you can see that, so script bundle. So this bundling concept is that we want to bundle a group of files together so that the downloading speed is faster. So when I say downloading speed, every time a browser hits a web page, there are files getting downloaded to your machine, because these are JavaScript files, CSS files. Your website need these files, and they get downloaded to your machine. Now, when they get downloaded, if you don't have bundling, they will get downloaded sequentially, one after the other.
I have a question.
Yeah.
From where it's getting downloaded?
From the server. Now, when I say from the server, whatever we are
what does it
seeing
mean?
here in the solution, so in the solution, we have a project called Sample MVC app, and all these files here are actually deployed on the server. So when I say server, it is like it's a web server. So all your files, including your DLLs, which is your C# code, your CSS files, which is your style sheet, your JavaScript files, which is your client-side scripting. All those files, we use it within the code, and then when we deploy it on the server, and then when the web browser goes and browses a page, that page will need style sheets, will need some JavaScript, will need our .NET DLLs. So the .NET DLLs don't get downloaded, but whatever the browser needs to make the page look good will get downloaded on the client machine.
Okay.
So for example, let's do one thing. Let's go to Amazon.com. Before that, I will open the function F12, which is will show you what files are getting downloaded. So you can see these are all the files that got downloaded to your machine, to my machine right now. There are a bunch of files that got downloaded. There are JS. Well, these are actually temporary files. So if you want them to delete, so if you go to settings, there is an option to
there's the option for remove temporary file.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here.
MVC is basically a server-side code, right? Nothing to do with the client-side framework, right?
Well, that's a good question. We'll let me just look at this first. So here.
So my question is why we are downloading it? Because if it is a client side, right?
Like not download. He is showing us like how it works.
It downloads locally, right? For the faster browser.
So here, system. I want to show you the option to search cache. Automatically send. Okay, clear browsing data. Okay, good. So there is an option that in your browser where you can say whether you want to clear the data, keep the data. So these temporary files that get downloaded are actually, they're stored in the cache, in the browser cache. Now, to your question, why are these files getting downloaded? So remember that JavaScript, CSS, HTML pages, these are all things that the browser understands. And when you go hit a web page, the server will send all these files to the client machine, to the browser, and it will get downloaded. So it has to get downloaded for JavaScript to execute, right? It has to execute in your browser. For that to execute, it needs that file. So it actually downloads the file. You can see your Amazon actually is downloading a bunch of files. So they have CS files, they have there is JS files, there are images. So all this needs to be there on the client. So all this beautification that you see is CSS. So for example, I move my mouse over hello, sign in, and the pop-up automatically comes up. That's JavaScript. So something is making that magic happen on the website, and that is nothing but your CSS and JavaScript. And that is required to be downloaded so that your browser can do that magic for you.
Okay, yeah.
So in our case, what happened is that we have these files that got downloaded: Modernizer, jQuery, Bootstrap. Now my question is, where did we specify for these files to get downloaded, right? So let's look at the code. If I go to viewstart.cshtml, well,
it's under bundle config, right? Bundle config.cs.
In bundle config. So if you see your layout file, there is a styles.render and it says content/css. Now, what is this content/css? If I go to bundle config, my content.css is bootstrap.css and site.css. Site.render content. Yeah. So these two files is part of this package, content/css. Now, let me do this. Control F5. Okay. See here, your bootstrap.css and site.css got downloaded. So it doesn't get downloaded every time. So this has some intelligence as well, that it checks if the file has changed or not. Only if the file has changed, it will bring it back, bring it down again. Otherwise, it will reuse the same file. So if I come here and I do so there is a functionality. So you can write functionality to say whether you want to download it every time or you want to download it only if it has changed. So the idea is that we will come to that concept. I mean, we don't have to talk about how to do that setting, but as long as you do bundling, we're trying to understand bundling here. So first thing is you can see that the files get downloaded. What files got downloaded? The bootstrap.css and site.css. These two got downloaded. And then there are also other files that got downloaded. There's a bundles/modernizer. This is another bundle. So let's see what's in that. So bundles.modernizer has scripts/modernizer-star, it says. So in this case, what it does is it goes to scripts folder and it looks for modernizer-star. So any version that's there, it downloads 2.8.3. So that's the file that got downloaded here. Then we have bundles jQuery. Okay. So then the next question is, there's also a couple of more renders here. Bundles/jQuery. Bundles.jQuery has, again, in scripts, it goes and checks what's the jQuery. And any file that is in this format, jQuery-version.js. So if I go to scripts, and if I see there's jQuery-version.js. So jQuery-3.3.1.js. So it downloads that file. And then what other renders do I have? I have a bundle/bootstrap. So that's bootstrap.js. So it downloads that as well. So it needs these files for the web page to execute. So we specified these files in our layout file, and hence it's downloading it. So if I comment this out, then it will not download it. If I don't bundle it, see, I have an option to
I have a question. Like all these folder, like the scripts and all, it will be by default should be there, right?
will be there.
So we just need to change.
Yeah, I mean, we need to change. Yeah, correct. If you see, you may need to have more script files. Like I can add a script file, right? For my own purposes, I will add a. See, I added a file called order.js. This did not come by default. So if you want to add JavaScript files, you add it under scripts. If you want to add CSS files, then you add it under content.
What is Ajax?
So Ajax is
I will write this. I want to see Ajax.
Ajax is a technology to be able to post information or send information from the browser to the server without refreshing the whole page.
Send information
from JavaScript to a controller. When I say server side, it can be a controller. So in this case, it will be a controller.
I can write in brackets server side, right?
Well, Ajax is on this client side, but it's used to send information from the client side to the server side. We will look at Ajax here now in a little bit. Okay. So going back to your layout.cshtml, it has information about what files to. I mean, if you want to bundle the files, then you specify it here. It's not that, see, bundling actually helps in terms of performance. So let's say I comment this out.
How do you comment out in this page? Like, because normally we do two slashes, right? How do you comment out here?
You can select it and do a Control KC. Then it will comment out. It will automatically either put double slash or it will do a block comment. Now, if I do this, I commented out content/CSS. I commented out styles.render of content.css. Now, if I do that,
U for uncomment, right?
my content/CSS has, I mean, if I go to bundle_config.cs, it has bootstrap.css and site.css. Now let's go and refresh the page. Let's see what happens. See, it lost some formatting because we commented out that bootstrap.css. See, your menu was in a nice, it was showing a nice menu. See now how it shows. Just shows this plain. If I do a F12 in my network, if I refresh this, right? There's no bootstrap.css and site.css. Not downloading it because we commented out. Now, where did we comment out? We commented it out in layout.cshtml. See, it's not necessary that you have to put this. Okay, so the other thing that I'll do now is instead of doing bundling, I can also do this. So if I go to site.css, I just drag and drop. Similarly, I do bootstrap.css, I do drag and drop. And then I can do a build. Or I just run it. The menus came back. Now, if I do a F12, and if I again refresh the page, See my site.css and bootstrap.css, they got downloaded this time because we included them one after the other. So instead of including them one after the other, you can even bundle it and put it together and then call it render. So bundling it together means you'll have to go to bundle.config.cs, like here. This is the way you bundle it. You can either bundle CSS or JavaScript. So
and it loads faster.
It loads faster. Yes. Bundling will give you faster load time. That's the real reason to do bundle. So instead of individual requests going for site1, site.css and bootstrap.css, there will go one request will go to bring both. So that way it will be faster.
Faster download.
Yeah, faster download time. Now let's look. So that is about styles. That is about rendering, right? When you use styles.render or scripts.rendering, that's what it means. Now let's come down and to see what's there in the layout file. In the body, we saw the render body. We saw the footer. Let's look at the header. Now the header has information about the menus. Now these are all Bootstrap classes. Question is, what is Bootstrap? That's our next topic.
It's like part of CSS.
Yeah.
Bootstrap Lumen.
Yes.
You can go there and just download it and copy paste the.
So the responsiveness is Bootstrap, right?
The responsiveness is Bootstrap. Yeah, that's more.
Makes it more prettier, gives it depth. Like we have additional features you want to, like colors and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah.
like how much margin you want, and if you want,
Yeah.
the display, the whole thing.
Sure. Display. Yep. So if you go to get Bootstrap, so this is it's a framework, and when I say it's a framework that includes CSS, JavaScript files to make your page look beautiful. And the very important thing that Manish also pointed out is to make it responsive. What does that mean? I think that's the key thing here. That's the reason why we use Bootstrap, to make your page responsive. Means if your page loads on a phone, the controls should stack up vertically. And I don't want a horizontal scroll bar, so that scrolling vertically is more convenient. So that to be able to give you that flexibility, or that flexibility is given to you by Bootstrap to make the page very responsive. Not responsive means not in terms of loading time, in terms of using it, right? Makes it all devices friendly. So some definitions here. Used to build responsive web applications. It's a toolkit or framework that includes HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to make your controls pretty. So this one was the company called Twitter came up with this Bootstrap concept. They came up with this framework or this toolkit. You heard of Twitter, right? That's the company that came up with it. Now, what happens is, like, if you see, just to give you some examples, right? If I go to components, you can see if I go to buttons, you can see I can have very colorful buttons, right? Very good-looking buttons. You can see how the buttons, like, they shape very well. You can see the edges are rounded, and then there are large buttons, and then there's active state, there's inactive state. That's just the buttons, right? And then you have, let's say I go to carousel. Carousel is, you must have seen this on some websites where the slides keep changing. They automatically they keep changing. Yeah, so here you can see. Have you seen this in some websites? Like if you go to Panera, right?
Yeah. Oh, you go there a lot.
I mean, if you go to the Panera website, I mean. Yeah, we like Panera. So you can see here, right? Yeah, she's hungry. So you can see how the thing keeps changing. This is a carousel. This is a bootstrap carousel, actually. You can automatically set it to keep changing. So it gives a very good, it makes our life convenient, makes it things look very pretty. Similarly, if you look at drop downs, right? If you look at the drop downs that we have, so you can have like very pretty drop downs, all kinds of different options for drop downs, sizing, make it big, small.
Based on our requirement, we just need to copy paste extra here.
Yes, use the classes.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So use these classes, and then you're good to go. So for example, model windows, like pop-up windows, like we see this nice pop-up window with the title, with what you want to say here. Are you sure you want to close this? Close, save changes. So it gives you these options to make your web page very pretty. Nav bar. Now, nav bar is what helps us build the menus. Out of the box, it provides us a way to build our menus. Similar thing is what we are seeing on our website here right now. This is a navigation bar actually. And where is this coming from? If you look at your layout.html, CSS.html, you can see these navbar classes. These are all bootstrap classes. That's making it look attractive and making our life easy. So then you have popovers and let's see, top, right, left, bottom, all these options that it gives. So what we're going to do is here right now in this example, if I look at my bootstrap.css, it's version 3.3.7. So this is a little older version. Bootstrap has moved on and they have come up with a newer version. They have come up with 4.1. So 3.3.7 is still there. It's widely supported, but they have now come up with 4.1. Now, how do I get the latest version? If you go to yeah, there's a download option. So can you go here and oh, there's a download here too, right up there. So can you click on the download? It will download a set of files for you.
I already did.
You already did. Okay. So once you download it, are you what version of Bootstrap are you?
I have to check.
So you should see Bootstrap 4.0.0 beta 3.
We have by default also we have now in Visual Studio Bootstrap.
We do.
Files.
We do.
Oh, maybe then I didn't download. Okay.
Yeah, by default, when you create a ASP.NET project, Microsoft by default loads Bootstrap 3.3.7. So if I come here, if in your Solution Explorer, you go to Content under your project, go to Content, and then click on Bootstrap.css. So you will see this version here, which is 3.3.7. And then it has all CSS classes. Make it look beautiful.
But in general, we are not using Bootstrap anywhere. Just there's a reference on the page, and it does the responsiveness for the page, basically, right?
Oh, we are using actually. If you go here, right?
I mean to say, we are not changing anything in the code, basically, right? We're just specifying on the page, and it does load stuff.
We are using the classes, Bootstrap classes.
Oh, are we using the classes in the code itself?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, right? I will show you that. So, can you download that 4.x version?
Where did you go? Bootstrap.com, you said?
Getbootstrap.com. Yeah. Yes. Getbootstrap.com. Yeah. Then you come to
4.1.3.
Yeah, 4.1.3.
Where is the document?
So there's a download option here. Compile CSS and JS files.
Yeah.
Click that. Yeah, so 4.1.3. Yeah, so you should get 4.1.3. Now you extract that. You'll see two folders in it.
CSS and JS.
CSS and JS. The CSS has all the styles. JS has JavaScript to make it more. So when you click on the drop down, right? Like in this example here, if I go to drop down, I go to components and then go to drop downs. For me to see these, like that pop-up to come up, I need JavaScript. I need the Bootstrap JavaScript, Bootstrap.js. I need that. So for it to just show the static like buttons, I don't need the .js. But anything that kind of creates a animation kind of a feel, when I use the Bootstrap buttons or something or dropdowns, then I need the JS file for that.
So we go and drop it in the.
So you once you download that, right? I'll tell you what to do. So then go into CSS, and then copy the bootstrap.css file. Right click, copy, and then here your solution. If your solution is running, just stop it.
Bootstrap.css, you can just stop there. Right?
Yeah, you just right click on content, say open folder in File Explorer, and then paste it.
Where did you go again? In your
So-
Visual Studio, we have to drop it, right?
Yeah, in Visual Studio.
In content. Okay.
Yeah, so you can right click on content and say open folder in File Explorer, and it will open that File Explorer for you. So you can get rid of all these, other than site.css, you get rid of all the other files because they're all related to 3.3.7.
So we are copying all these?
Yeah, we can copy all that. So
And
I
then-
just get rid of it and then, so actually we don't need all the files. We just need bootstrap.css. I just copy that and then paste it. One file. And then similarly, I want to go into the JS. If I go to the scripts folder and I see there are Bootstrap JS files, 2 files are there, I'll get rid of them. And so I just got rid of them, and then I go to my JS here. Copy the JS file. Make sense?
If you can't find it, I already copied it. Can't we?
Really? Okay.
Use something, right?
Yeah. That's it. So I
Where did it go? My file
yeah, we'll
disappeared.
check it.
Thank you.
Oh,
This
no.
is not mine.
Oh.
Oh, my goodness.
I had it here. I copy pasted content. Yes,
So let me show you. So delete what's there in content. You can even delete from Visual Studio.
I deleted from Visual Studio actually.
So just delete all the Bootstrap files from Visual Studio, and then if you have, I already copied the Bootstrap.cs is the new one, but if you have the old one, you can delete it from Visual Studio, and then copy the new one. You can even copy the new one from Visual Studio, like that. I just delete this guy.
I did that, but I didn't do the 4.1.
So copy the bootstrap.css. And in Visual Studio, you paste it on content. You can do that. See, did you see that? You can even copy from.
Say that again.
So here I'm deleting the two Bootstrap files
Oh.
and the JS files from scripts. Then I go to where I downloaded it, JS file. I copy that JS file, and then I paste it here, scripts. So I got it. I got the new one.
So when you paste it, it will auto load there. It will add a line there.
Yeah, it will add the line there. Oh, where in the code you mean?
Yeah.
Well, in the code there is already a reference to it.
But when you take it out, it will take out, right?
It won't take out. It'll keep the reference in the code.
Okay.
Sure. It's free. So this is your C. Copy it. Here, right click, and then paste. Oh,
I tried it before. I don't know where it went.
I think you need to probably extract it. So what you can do is you right click this, say extract all, extract it into a folder in the same place. Go to copy, Visual Studio. Yeah. But go to script. Delete. What you had to do is you had to extract this one here. The extract means it will create a folder with the same name. So files are extracted and it's there. You can copy and paste. If it's not copying, you did it directly from the zip file. So I put the latest version of Bootstrap, and then I'm going to run this. Okay, so still I got the top menus. Now your question was, so what happens if I bring it to, I bring it like, I make the size smaller of the screen, right? You can see here, I'm making it like a phone. So what happened to the menus? You see the menus actually came under now. There's no horizontal scroll bar from my screen. This is like a phone view, right? We make the screen smaller, it's like a phone view. If I didn't have this kind of an experience, I'll have to use a horizontal scroll bar, click on maybe one of the menus, then again do a scroll bar, come back, kind of makes it inconvenient. So this one vertically stacks up. And so it's easy to do the operations that you want to. Now, how is this happening, right, is a question. So this whole menu thing is being controlled by all Bootstrap classes. And now if I come to my layout file, so if I go to the website, the Bootstrap website, and I click on navbar, I mean, the code is all here, right? They have already written the code so to make our life convenient. You can see that there's this whole code that they have written for the navigation bar. Now, what does this do? So you can see starting from, all these are Bootstrap classes. So anything that says class here is a Bootstrap class. Now, if I change, if I want menus like this, right? I mean, that's the kind of menus that we have even within our application. I can use this Bootstrap navbar classes to create that menu item, to create that menu field. So if I come to my own code, since we were using, I'm going to just comment this out. And I'm going to use the new Bootstrap. This is the using Bootstrap 3.3.7 classes, but I'm going to use the new 4.1.3 classes. So what does that mean? So I'm going to copy this whole thing.
Where are you right now? How did you get that page?
So this is in, if you go to getbootstrap.com.
Yeah, I'm there.
And there then click on documentation.
Oh.
So I go to getbootstrap.com. Let me show you that. So I go here.
Yeah.
And then I click on documentation.
Yeah.
And then in that I have components.
Yeah.
Now in components I have navbar. Then I go down, and then there's the code for the navbar. So I'm just there's a copy option too to make my life convenient. So I just click on copy, and I'm going to paste that code here. So I'm going to refresh my page now to see what happens.
So wherever you said there is a class, that means it's Bootstrap.
You can define your own classes too, but right now we are using Bootstrap classes. We saw how to define classes, right? Our own classes, but we want to use the Bootstrap classes. Okay, so now something is not okay. It's kind of disturbed the whole thing. So let's investigate what's going on. Come to my file. Bootstrap. I need to go to this guy. Go to my layout file. I say bootstrap.css. jQuery. One bootstrap. Looks okay to me, but something is not working properly. Let's do one thing. Let's start some debugging here. So comment out this guy. Let's see what's this. So there's a problem. Toggler. Now for it. Okay. So the files were not getting refreshed. They were not getting downloaded, the new files. See, what happens is that the framework, if it sees that the file, I mean, it has its own algorithm to check if the files are changed or not. Sometimes it uses the file name also, looks like. So though our file content had changed, but it did not download the new file because I changed the bootstrap.css and the bootstrap.js. Now, if you have to do a forceful refresh, which means that I don't care if the files are already there in my cache or not, I want the browser to get the new files from the server or to forcefully download the files from the server. Then you do a control F5. That's a forceful refresh. Okay. Control F5. So when I did Control F5, you can see the nav bar kind of became more beautiful because I commented out some lines. We are not seeing the rest of it, so I'm going to uncomment that. And yeah. So you see, we got back the whole the nav bar just like it is in the Get Bootstrap page. Now, the navbar that we had earlier, it had some of our own code. Like if you see here, there was a HTML action link. I need this code because on click of application name, so I want to see an action link called application name. So right now this doesn't have that. So I'm going to add that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to add him here, up there. So let me add him here. Yeah. And then if I refresh it, so you can see there's an application name that came. Now I see earlier we did not have a navbar brand, but but right now in the new one they have it. So I'm going to get rid of it. We don't need that. Just going to make it same as what it was earlier, but the class names are changed. So earlier they were calling it navbar inverse, navbar fixed stop. Now they renamed it to say navbar expand LG, navbar light, BG light. So we really don't have to get into what these classes are doing, right? How they are defined, what are the styles defined? Because for us, we really want the menu in the top, right? We want a navigation bar. And we want to be able to add our own names here as far as the names go here. So that names we need to change so that it becomes our names. So here now I added application name, and then if I come down, there is this is what's there. There is a unordered list, and then there is LIs within the unordered list. Then the list element. So what I'm going to do is, so I'm just going to use the same thing. So I'm going to copy this thing, this LIs that's there from the previous one. But I'm not going to replace the classes of the UI and the divs, of the UL and the divs. So just the LIs I'm going to replace. And then I'm going to do a refresh. Oh, okay. So the formatting is gone bad. So let's see. So LI, okay. So here, LI, okay. Action bar link. So just take what is in the LI. I'm going to take what's in the LI and replace it with, replace the old one, replace the new one with the old one. So I just put this. I don't need the anchor tag. I do a refresh. I got home. Let's see. So here. So one thing to remember, let me make the change and then I'll explain it. Href. Span. Class name. So just what's in the LI. Take and replace delete. Okay. Then I take the next one and I replace it. This one. Okay. Then I take the next one. I'll replace it with this one. I don't need a drop down, so I'm just going to say align and I'm going to comment this whole thing. Just get rid of it. Okay. Let me refresh the page. Oh. Comment
What is this? Nav item, nav item.
refresh. Home, about, contact. See, with the old one and the new one, there is a difference between 3.3.7 and 4.1. There is a difference in the way the classes are behaving. So what we'll do here is saying li. Let me go here and see what's happening here. So in the li, let's see, it's like this. So class link href. Oh. Correct. Action link. Attributes. Class equal to nav. Close it.
Are you guys still there or went home? Everything is frozen.
Oh, really?
Okay, no, I can see. Yeah.
Is closed down? Will we having snow?
Saying everything is frozen.
Oh, okay.
New class.
No, I thought everyone went home. It was quiet here, so.
New at class. Okay, got it. Link. New ID. Say class equal to nav link. Format. Oh, new area. Oh, here it is. So I say new area. Or new at class. Okay, got it. better. I'm going to get rid of this guy. Then I'm going to say yeah. Yay, fixed it. So it looks better now, right?
Yeah.
So the new one, the new Bootstrap is a little different from the old one. So you have to do some tweaking around. So basically, I mean, the idea here is that Bootstrap is providing these classes where we can beautify our page. I wanted to add some elements into the HTML file and then apply Bootstrap to it and look at the beautification, the way it enhances the whole look. Up on time here.
I've never seen that new add class is equal to nav link. That is new, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So we're going to come to that. So basically, yeah, we'll talk about that. So I have that in the to-do list. So I want to show you first how we can send data from the client to the controller. So we were calling the controller methods, the action methods, but we need to be able to, let's say I fill up a form and then I click submit. Then I need to pass that data to the controller method so that we can do some processing with that information. Yeah, I wanted to show that. So let's do this quickly. I'll show you the good thing about Bootstrap, right? In the index.html, if we go to our home page, have this, right? It's a table. Remember we created this table earlier? Now I'm going to apply some Bootstrap classes to it. I'm going to say class, I'm going to say table responsive, table striped. Now let's look at what happens to the class. Does it look better?
Yeah.
Yeah, see the amount of beautification that Bootstrap can provide you. It created a nice little table with alternate rows being striped. Kind of makes it look beautiful, right? Similar. So that's what I did was I applied some Bootstrap classes. Now if I go and define it, I'll show you a normal button versus a Bootstrap button, right? You'll kind of begin to appreciate the difference. So ID equal to, let's say, normal button, and then I'll give it a value, let's say submit, right? And then I come here and I say button class equal to btn primary, and I'll close it. Let's look at both the, let's give it a name too, submit. Submit is the name of the button. So let's look at both the buttons, okay? Let's refresh it. The buttons are right at the bottom. So you can see one button is a normal button, the other one is a Bootstrap button. You can see the edges are more rounded when it comes to a Bootstrap button. The normal button is like pointed edges. So you can make this default to change the color to have no blue. So if I want to make it just like the other button, okay, see here. So it made it a normal button with no color. But can you see that kind of makes it more good looking, attractive?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of having a Bootstrap. The other example is if, let's say, we create an input element, right? Let's say input type, text, and then I create one with Bootstrap on. I say input type equal to form control. Oh, sorry, text. But then I apply a class equal to form control. Form control, and I close it. Now let's look at how both these appear. See, this is a normal text box, whereas this is the Bootstrap text box. So you can see again it's square edges, a little smaller, but the Bootstrap one kind of has a nice rounded edges and like looks more. See, as soon as I click on it, you can see the colors change. So with the other one, it's kind of makes it more user
friendly. User friendly.
Better feel to it, more attractive, I would say. Yeah. So we'll actually. I mean, my next assignment for you is to use a Bootstrap classes and beautify your form page that you created in your last assignment. Make it look more beautiful using Bootstrap. So in your last assignment, you created a table with some values in it, right?
So then there was a cancel button. This we can make it better, and the rows and tables we can more
use the Bootstrap classes. And then also I'll ask you to design a form. I'll send you the assignment. So let me send you the assignment. So you design a form with some values in it, show a table also below that, and then show buttons. I mean, these are the things I want you to do. So with the last assignment, did you have any questions in the last assignment?
No, I got it.
All right. How about you, Manish and Vinita? Did you have any challenges with the last assignment?
I will let you know once I am done then.
Okay. Okay. So this is what I think we are up on time here, but this is what Bootstrap we covered ASP.NET MVC. To summarize, we covered ASP.NET MVC. We saw the layout page. We saw what is how the controllers and the action methods, and how to pass data from the controller to the views. So we use models to pass the data. We displayed the data on the view. Whatever data was there in the models, we displayed on the view. And then we saw bundle.config file. What is the purpose of that? We saw the layout file. We saw that in detail. What are the different elements? Then we saw Bootstrap, how you can use Bootstrap to make your navigation bars, buttons, drop downs. I mean, those are the things that you can, instead of using your normal drop down, HTML drop down, you use your normal drop down or button, but then you apply Bootstrap classes to it to make it look more beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from today's class? Okay, all right, sounds good. I will. What I'll do is I will send you the assignment for next week, and you can work on that and upload it or ask questions if you have as you're working on it.
Yeah.
All right then. Thank you for joining. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys. I was talking on the mute.
Oh, you were okay. No problem.